You're listening to RTLSA.
It is indeed Thursday, which means that we get into Arsenal Thursday. And I'll tell you what, in the beginning, this morning, at the beginning of the show, I wasn't sure how many questions I was going to get today, but they did come in, quite a few to get through. So let's not waste any time.
Hey Noel, who is your celebrity crush and why?
All right, a lot of people judge me for this, but my celebrity crush has got to be Scarlett Johansson. Oh, the Black Widow. Yeah, I'm leaving her right there. A lot of love for that woman.
Hey Noel, what's your greatest strength?
Huh. Um, I think empathy, eh? To be honest with you, I have an uncanny ability to empathize with people. Sometimes to my own detriment, but yeah, it does bode well if I am able to help a lot of people.
Hey Noel, have you ever had a life-changing event happen to you? What was it and how did it change your life?
Yeah, easy. Uh, I've had a few. We can talk about divorce as one. That is a life-changing event. Marriage is one as well. So are kids. But I think the most defining life-changing moment in recent times had to have been COVID, because COVID created the opportunity for me to create the show, which has in turn created other opportunities as well. So, not all negative. It did knock me hard, don't get me wrong, but I think ultimately it was a blessing in disguise.
Hey Noel, what makes you smile and what scares you the most? Be
Oh,
honest.
Sarah, you make me smile, Sarah. And you also scare me with your voice notes. What makes you smile? Oh, my kids. My kids always make me smile. People's stupidity makes me smile as well. And what scares me? I don't know. I'm not really scared of too much, but I suppose if I have to go deep and emotional, it will have to be probably failure. I don't like failure. And then we got into some text questions. Lauren asked me, am I a confrontational person? I don't think so. No. I like to avoid confrontation. But if I do need to get confrontational, I do. What did your last or your past relationship teach you? That's a loaded question, man. Loaded question. Man, look, I believe that every relationship, be it a romantic one or a friendly one, should teach you something. Whether it continues or whether it ends, there's always a lesson to be learned in a relationship. And more lessons than just one, I think, especially when it comes to romantic relationships. So, to be honest with you, one of the biggest things I've learned from past relationships is probably to rein it in a little bit. I kind of jump head in, and it's a life thing of for me. Everything I do, I throw everything into it, and sometimes that can be a little bit intimidating in a relationship, and maybe push the other person over the edge a little bit. So that is one of the biggest lessons that I've had to learn is to, you know, not expect the other person to necessarily do it the way I do it, and or be on the same level as I am. I'm the type of person that just gets stuck in from day one. So yeah, I think that's probably one of the biggest lessons I've learned. Now we're getting to some interesting questions. Is flirting cheating? Lauren asks. And the answer is not necessarily. But there are a few things to consider when you look at it. Now, flirting doesn't inherently indicate a desire to hook up with someone. In fact, it technically means behaving like you're sexually attracted to someone, but doing it in a playful manner rather than with serious intention. But most importantly, it's impossible to declare whether flirting equals cheating because the answer is different for every couple. Now, when it comes to cheating, many of us know the black and white view of cheating, and that's like physical, mainly physical. That defines cheating. The Merriam-Webster says it's to be sexually unfaithful. That is the definition of cheating. So people will not be wrong to think that flirting is not necessarily cheating. But I do want to throw a little spin on this, because I think cheating is a lot more than black and white, and it covers a lot more bases than just another person. You could be cheating on your partner by spending too much time with your work, for example. And I know you're going to probably want to lynch me for saying this, but this is kind of, people are too quick to just say black and white, and that's how it is. And that's why flirting often falls into a gray area. But my take on it is this, and the way I would define cheating. If it is something that you are not prepared to do in front of your partner, or let your partner find out about, then it is probably cheating. And if you can flirt in front of your partner, I kind of think that is disrespectful, and that takes it to another level as well. It might not be considered cheating, but it certainly would be considered disrespectful. So there are different ways to look at it. Some people will say yes, flirting is cheating because it's wrong. It's showing sexual intent, be it a playful way or not, is irrelevant. Others will say it is not cheating. So, you just work it out. My philosophy is, I look at it from this. If I'm not prepared to do it in front of my partner, then it is just as good as cheating. I hope that answers your question. Got some questions from Charmaine as well. Let's have a listen.
Morning, Nosy. Morning, everybody. So, it's my favorite day.
Yay!
Arsenal Thursdays. Okay, number one. No. If you were able to take any of my personality traits or abilities, or if you were able to take one thing from me to enhance your life, what would it be? Number two, if you were able to bless me with something to make my life better or different or worse or whatever the case is, to either break me and build me up or just enhance my being, what would that one thing be? And number three, how have I, just one thing, changed your life? Those are my three questions. It's all about me. Only because we have to love ourselves. And to do that, sometimes we need to see our bad points and our good points. So, yeah.
Thank goodness I've known you for quite a while, because if I didn't know you very well, I wouldn't be able to answer any of these questions. If I could take one thing from you that has bettered my life, Charmaine, your absolute kindness and willingness to take the shirt off your own back for anybody in need. That is an absolute beautiful trait that you possess, and you are so passionate about other people. If I could bless you with one thing, I would give you a piece of advice. I would tell you to, sure, if we have to be really personal now, I would tell you to address your boundaries because of your kindness as whatever. You also tend to let people take advantage of you. So I would, if I were you, or if I could bless you with one thing, I would bless you with some advice. And that is, have a look at your boundaries and consider yourself a little bit as well. What is one thing that you have done that has changed my life? You have made me drink tequila on a Monday night. Yes, and that hurts. Oh, man, these questions. Oh, dear, here we go. Voice note from Bob. What does Bob want to know today?
Good morning, RTLSA listeners. Today is not Ask Noel Thursday. Please excuse my muffled voice. I've just come from the dentist. So my question for you today, Noel, is how often in the last 3 weeks have you slept in your bed?
What type of a question is that? How often have I slept in my bed in the last 3 weeks? Well, I would say roughly about 60% of the time in the last 3 weeks. And I don't know where you're going with this, Bobbles, but you do know that I was house sitting a friend's house for a period as well, which meant that I was not in my bed. So I hope that answers your question. There was this one night, however, that I slept on the floor. But we don't talk about that night. I got another voice note. I'm not sure if it was meant to be anonymous or not, so we're just going to go anonymous because it is quite a big one.
Good morning, Noel. Ask Noel Thursdays. I've got one for you. What is your opinion on sleeping with a very good friend's ex-wife? So your opinion on bro code and whether it's acceptable or not to sleep with a very close mate's ex-wife.
Okay, so there is a lot to talk about regarding this question. Firstly, I think what we need to do is we need to understand bro code. Now, bro code, according to the Urban Dictionary, is honor amongst bros and obvious rules that men have as bros. So generally in this bro code, you would have things like sisters are off limits and exes are off limits, and if a guy is chasing a girl, you let him. You don't interfere. And one of the biggest ones is don't be that guy, whatever that means, but don't be that guy. And and another one that they say, according to the Urban Dictionary, is that you always watch the game. Always watch the game. You don't just stand around the fire and ignore the game. You got to watch the game. But that's a bit light-hearted. And I think, if we have to talk about this, we have to talk about the context of this relationship or this thing. Are you wanting to just sleep with a woman, or do you have feelings for your friend's ex? And I think that's where you've got to look at it, because sleeping with her is one thing, but if there's an emotional connection, that brings a totally different context into what we're discussing today. And if there are feelings, particularly feelings of emotions towards your friend's ex, then there are a few things that you need to consider. Firstly, is your friend over it? And that's an honest conversation that you will need to have with this friend. Did you guys talk about it? Did you discuss it? The fact that you're considering it is, you got to ask yourself the question, what are you actually afraid of? Are you afraid of losing your friendship? Or are you afraid of rejection from the woman? Or what is it? If you actually consider, if you're thinking about it, there's obviously going to be some reservations, and these are the things that you got to think of. And if you are scared of losing your friend, then obviously you've got a really strong indication that it will not be okay with your friend. One of the most important things as well, and I've kind of got this rule that I've put together for myself. When did that relationship end? Is it recent? Did they break up recently in the last year or so? Or, is it like 7-8 years ago, a decade ago, or whatever? So I've got I kind of, Bob the Legend and I were discussing it a little while back, and we do this around Caveman TV where we talk about issues and things like that, and not necessarily specific to anything. It's just a conversation. And one thing that I came up with in this conversation, which I think is a nice rule of thumb, is a statute of limitations in the circumstance, and that is 3 ex-girlfriends ago. So if your mate has dated, say, 3 girls since this one, then the statute of limitations should be over. I don't know. It's just I just thought that that's maybe a good way to look at it. But it is a conversation that you're going to have with your friend, and put broker aside. And again, like I said, it comes down to the context. Are there emotions, or is it just sexual? Is it just physical? If it's physical, my suggestion would be to rather stay away. But if there are emotions attached and you're actually feeling something for this girl, and it has been a long period of time and your friend is over it, it's certainly a conversation that you guys can have, because there's no reason why you should not wish your ex and your friend to be happy, if you are the one that is on the receiving end, so to say. So that's where I'm going to leave that, and I hope I did your answers justice today, your questions with my answers, that is. Just remember that a lot of it is my opinion, and not necessarily researched or fact whatsoever. So please don't say, yeah, Noel and RTL subscribe to this, because it's just an opinion matter. But generally I try and keep it as open and as, honest as possible, based on as much fact as I can base it. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for sending me all these questions. It really made me think, and installed some faith in this session again. I kind of enjoyed it. We're going to get into your power play trivia question now on the other side of this.
You're listening to RTLSA.